Wan-Bissaka has gotten worse with every passing season at United.
We're going to move on to the last little section for the podcast today, which is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And Mo, as his best pal, as his number one fan, as his cheerleader, we're obviously going to ask you about this first. Now, to give both sides of the story on Wan-Bissaka, I do think that he is suffering because a big fat light is being shone on him, because we're in the age of the Premier League fullback, where we've got some of the best fullbacks in world football playing in the Premier League. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, João Cancelo, Reece James, Marcus Alonso, Kyle Walker, etc., etc., etc. And they are also now becoming kind of quasi-playmakers within the systems that they're playing in, because they've got fantastic managers and fantastic coaching systems. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's ace card all the time has been his defending, his ability in one-on-one situations, his ability to be defensively relatively sound. But he still comes in for a lot of criticism. So, Mo, what is it that you see about Aaron Wan-Bissaka that the rest of us, the great and good, don't see about Aaron Wan-Bissaka at Man United?
It's his unique defensive skill set. This is the thing. In terms of defending as a whole, he has weaknesses in his game. He doesn't defend crosses very well coming from the left. Like Luke Shaw always allows crosses coming in from the left. That's Luke Shaw's big flaw. No one talks about that, by the way. Luke Shaw never defends crosses very well. They always come in, and Wan-Bissaka doesn't ever know where his man is, right? And I think part of that is because he's always playing with Lindelof, and Lindelof is a very weak defender, not commanding. Whereas I think if he played next to Varane or Maguire, they would space no, I'm here, you go over there. But we'll see. I think ultimately Wan-Bissaka has been let down by the fact that United never had a very strong coach. I love Solskjaer as a man manager. I think he's great. He's a club legend, obviously, but I don't think he was ever very good in terms of coaching and improving players. I think his idea with Wan-Bissaka was we'll just play him like a normal wing back, like he's Reece James or something. But he's not Reece James. He doesn't have anything like the skill set Reece James does. He's not a good passer of the ball. That's just pure and simple. He's not a good passer of the ball. If you look at him, what he does best, he's really good at dribbling. He's great at breaking press with his dribbling, not with his passing. Good God, not with his passing. But he can beat a press with his dribble, and he's a sensational defensive player. Since he's joined Man United at the start of start of 2019. He is in tackles. He has 245 tackles in the Premier League. Only Wilfred Ndidi has more with 271. Right, and this is taking into account the fact that Wan-Bissaka has basically not really played this year. In terms of, he has 148 interceptions. That I think is fourth overall in that time frame. So he's an obscene defender. He's really, really good, and he's massive. He's been huge for United in transition defense as well. That's the something that does get talked about a lot. The amount of times he kills counterattacks with his pace or with his tracking back and whatnot, and prevents David De Gea having to go into superhero mode. But I can't, you have to acknowledge the truth is he's not good going forward at all. And United have just used him in a way that exposes that, right? You look at other players who aren't necessarily great going forward. Look at Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's not really great in attack. And when he plays for England, he looks terrible because he hasn't had Pep Guardiola. When Pep Guardiola is telling him what to do, Kyle Walker looks amazing. He doesn't really go forward that often. He stays relatively close to the halfway line in the half space, underlapping, provides support from midfield, and is great in transition defense. And he's really good at that role. That's coaching, man. Trent Alexander-Arnold is another great example. Obviously, completely different kind of players, Wan-Bissaka, but Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a great 1v1 defender. He's not a particularly great defender, but he's an exceptional attacking force, literally one of the best in the world. And so Klopp doesn't put him in a position where he has to be like Reece James, up and down, defending and attacking. He puts him in unique situations where he can attack and someone covers for him, because he understands that I have a unique player here. I need to make the most of what he can do. So with Wan-Bissaka, I have a player who is uniquely brilliant at defending. He's run off Mbappe and Neymar in the same game from his flank. Like those PSG games, they were both trying to attack him. None of them got any change out. They just ran away to the other side. Neymar beat United at Old Trafford in that game. He did it by running away from Wan-Bissaka, and running at Harry Maguire. Because he couldn't get anything out of Wan-Bissaka because he's that good defensively. But two things have hurt Wan-Bissaka this season. The first is obviously Solskjaer's continued lack of coaching. We can only assume it is, and lack of work on him, because Wan-Bissaka has gotten worse with every passing season at United, where it's clear he's not being worked on. The second thing is the arrival of Cristiano Ronaldo essentially stopped United from playing deep and hitting on the break, because he can't do that because he's 36, right? And so if United aren't playing back foot counter-attack football, Wan-Bissaka's limitations become more obvious, because again, he's exceptional. Sitting back, come on, come and attack me. Oh, I can tackle you now. Got the ball, launched the counter attack. There we go. Right? He's great at that. When United are playing a bit more on the front foot, as they have to with Cristiano in the team, and as they do now with under Ralf Rangnick, who is very much a front foot kind of coach, like Wan-Bissaka's limitations become exposed. So this is not an argument to say that Wan-Bissaka should be in the United team, because honestly, under Rangnick, probably not. And probably he might have to move in the summer, because I don't think Rangnick plays a very symmetrical kind of system where the fullbacks have to attack and have to be participants in the attack. And Wan-Bissaka is not really built for that. He needs to play in an asymmetric system where he's a defensive player, like Guardiola kind of thing. So he might have to move in the summer, which is a great shame, because I love him a lot. But yeah, that's my defense. He's an amazing, uniquely amazing and brilliant lockdown defender, one of the best 1v1 defenders in the world. United then just, instead of using him in that unique capacity, have tried to use him like he's any old normal fullback. And as a result, he's been pretty, getting progressively worse, basically.
Looking at the situation with Wan-Bissaka, Mark, and there might be a little bit of recency bias here, because the Brentford game last night, Diogo Dalot at right back was excellent. He got man of the match. Defensively, he was very good, particularly when Brentford tried to do that trick that they do where they lob it into the back post and your fullback needs to get around your centre half and help out and dig out and win headers and just kind of grit and grunt and get over the line. And he was excellent at that. And he was also progressive in the ball, winning interceptions, driving United up on that side of the pitch. And when you look at the best teams, again, to go back in the Premier League, City, Liverpool and Chelsea, they do bring their fullbacks into the game. The fullbacks are not just there to defend, to repel attacks, to get back and help out. No, they come into midfield and they play an active role in progressive building of possession and attacks. Liverpool and City are probably the best examples of that. Chelsea do it quite well with Alonso and James in a different situation. Is there a pressure on United to maybe look to replicate that? And if so, that would mean that it's probably going to be Dalot and arguably even Alex Telles on the other side, because Luke Shaw, for the positives that he brings in terms of assists, Alex Telles just has this ability to raid from deep. He's quicker than Shaw, he gets beyond his opposite fullback more than Shaw, and he gives United that mirror of the other teams where the fullbacks are way more involved in midfield.
I think that United's best fullback pairing as it stands at the minute is Shaw and Dalot.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think that let's start. Okay, we'll spend a little bit of time on left back. I think what Shaw did last season in terms of, again, like I said, being the guy that would move the ball up the pitch, the only other guy on the team other than Fernandes, made him kind of emerge as almost the second most important player in the team. And he hasn't been great in terms of his form hasn't been great this season. He hasn't quite produced those same returns, but I still think in terms of all the build-up stuff, all the kind of like progression, he strips Telles in that, I think, who is very good at set pieces, has brilliant delivery, probably the best set piece deliverer, corner taker in the team. But I think Shaw is still ahead of him in that regard, I would say. But I think Shaw's good enough. I think Shaw is like, he is a modern fullback in that sense. With Wan-Bissaka, I think the issue is that he's very good at certain things, and like everything Mo's highlighted in terms of his one-on-one defending. It's great, but I don't know if it's a role that is even that relevant or used that much really in elite level, top level football nowadays at teams like United, of the caliber that United. I think the Kyle Walker point is a brilliant point. He isn't the same. He isn't the Kyle Walker that was at Tottenham. He isn't the kind of attacking, marauding wing back that he was there. But he plays at Manchester City, and it's almost like a cheat code playing at City, because you have João Cancelo on the other side, who is the absolute epitome of everything you'd want in this. And Walker's almost protected. He moves into a back three, if you like.
Best coach in the world as well, It's
exactly. To the point you were making, to build on those weaknesses in his game, he's got that. Whereas United, there hasn't been that. I like Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a guy that looks brilliantly defensively, because you see him making that tackle, and that's everything that we're always trained to see a defender do. He does all of that. But there's other things like where he lets people go at the back post. He's got a really, it comes up time and again, that weakness that he's got there, where he just lets people loose at the back post and somebody scores on with a cross from the other side. He isn't, I don't think, the defensive cheat code that excuses for his lack of his limitations going forward. And we're talking about United, like I said, we're talking about United. We're talking about a team that is top 6, that would like to be competing in the latter rounds of the Champions League, let alone qualifying for. They're struggling to qualify for it at the minute, but they want to be at that level. They're going to spend a lot of time on the ball. They need width. They need, especially if they've got people cutting inside on the wings, they need fullbacks who can get forward and who can provide that. And I don't think Wan-Bissaka has ever really shown himself to be up to that level in an attacking sense. And the benefits, if you like, the pros don't outweigh the cons on the defensive side. You just have to watch. You honestly just have to watch a game where United are on the attack. They've got like settled possession in the opponent's half, and you just have to look and see how much space Wan-Bissaka is in. And he's in a lot of space because the opponents know that they can allow him that space. And because they're giving him space, it means that the players who can make something happen elsewhere on the pitch have less space around them. And that's the biggest problem that I feel. I never like to be so critical of players, but it feels like he is just a kind of a spot that anyone would come in and would think we need to do something there. And I think you've even seen that with Rangnick, where he was playing every single game, starting every single game under Solskjaer and the predecessors. Since Rangnick's come in, Dalot suddenly starting his first league game in nearly a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think Dallow's any great shakes either, but it's just he
still needs improvement there.
He can pass the ball. He can, like you said, you can trust him. He has the ball. You can know he's going to deliver across. And look, I'm the biggest Wan-Bissaka defender there is, but you have to be realistic about players. And in a system, and again at United, I'm always looking at United's best ball players in the bottom half of their team are the centre backs. So I was always, I'm always like, I'm Mr. Unorthodox formation here. I'm like, why don't you just let Maguire or Lindelof push up with the ball, and then Wan-Bissaka, instead of attacking, just stays back and defends, because he can defend brilliantly. But that's the kind of situation you need to do, that kind of unorthodox thinking to get the most out of Wan-Bissaka, right? Which you could do, but Rangnick's not going to do that. That's not what he does. That's not his style of football at all. So it's probably not going to work for Wan-Bissaka at Man United, which is the saddest thing, because I'm a big fan. But again, like Mark says, he's not a modern fullback. He's a different kind of fullback. He's a throwback in many ways. And a better coach would have a more adventurous coach would have found a way to use him. Like I'm convinced if Bielsa had him, Bielsa would be playing with defensive midfield or something and just said, just tackle everything that moves. The way he used Gary Medel, Bielsa's Chile. Sorry, just take that for a second. Bielsa's Chile, he put midfielders in defence in a back three and then had Medel in front of them. And Medel would just hit everything that moved. Wouldn't pass the ball. The defenders would pass the ball. He would just hit everything that moved. So, like someone like Bielsa would do something like that with Wan-Bissaka, right? But Solskjaer was not that kind of guy. And I think in many ways that was sort of a really strange bit of scouting, in the sense that they clearly looked at him and they loved what he did defensively. Then why, did they think they could make him into an attacker? I guess. I don't know. I don't think he's long from United. I think he won't play much more this season, barring injury, and I think he'll probably be moved on in the summer. My only hope is that he goes somewhere that can value and maximise his skill set, because he does have a very terrific skill set.